Happy Wednesday, everyone. It is Slice of Advice time, and today I'm going to be having on the Instagram Live Terence Tang, and I'm very, very excited about this. I've known Terence for quite a while. If you don't know him, check him out at Tin Lun Studio, Tinlun. I'll make sure that I make that known to everyone. But today I'm going to be having him on exploring a bit of a different topic, which I'm really, really excited about. That freelance isn't for everyone, and also the pricing, the kind of way that you can price yourself so that when opportunities come in, you're really able to take advantage of them, which is kind of cool. And so just as a bit of a segue, this week I actually released something that I'm pretty excited about. This week I released my easiest pricing calculator. So it's a calculator that people can jump in, put in how much they want to make, how many hours they want to work, and any expenses, and it pops out exactly how much you should be charging per hour. So that's my little excitement this week, and that got to be released out into the wild, which is very exciting. But yeah, I've had some really interesting feedback. People asking about how they can, work out how they can make just that little bit more, or, $10, $20, $30, and how it all adds up and becomes kind of a bigger slice of the pie, I guess. So yeah, that's actually been released this week. So if you want to take advantage of the Easy as Pie pricing calculator, head to easyaspiepricing.com/calculate. And if you have already joined, I would love to hear your thoughts, or let me know if you've used it. There's been a lot of love, sweat and tears, because not blood, just love, sweat and tears in there. I actually do have very vivid memories of sitting and coding over weekends and trying to make the calculator kind of all work and work perfectly for you guys. But enough about the calculator. I'm really, really excited that Terence is going to be jumping on here soon. So Terence, I've known, we're probably going back about 4 or 5 years, maybe, let's go 4 years. Let's just say 4 years. And we connected a lot on lettering styles. But now, instead of me trying to explain exactly who he is, so welcome, Terence. Once it joins you, I'm thinking it's going to join you. Yeah, that's exactly what I expected. That is exactly what I expected of you. Just a goofy face to introduce.
Awesome. I'm glad I could deliver that.
Look, you always deliver. There's never ever been a doubt, ever. So thank you so much for joining me. I know that it is like 9 o'clock at night where you are, whereas it's midday here, and I've been way too productive. Those who seen the story or see the story later, I cleaned out my linen closet so that I could house you in my linen closet. So currently you are where the towels are.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
I love towels. They're very, very comfy.
So for those who haven't met the wonderful you, give us a quick couple of sentences about who is Terence and Tin Lun.
All right. I'm Terence Tang. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm a designer and artist. Been kind of all through the gamut of different employment types, full-time corporate, startup, fintech. Been doing my own thing. I've tried running a lifestyle brand, and just kind of been all the way around it, and then come back to full-time employment.
I just realized I could be wearing a humankind hat.
Well, sorry about that. Oh yeah.
Life.
Hang on. My daughter's crashing the party. You want to say hi?
Hello. For those who don't know Mimo from...
Okay, time to go.
Mimo has no idea of the child.
No. I'm sorry.
I've known you since you were a one-child parent.
I am a two-child parent.
Yeah, but I've known you for a one-child parent. Like
Oh,
you,
yeah, yeah.
like I remember watching video emu burps.
Oh, that's right. That's right. My I have the highlight, my Instagram highlight of the collection of her burps. Yeah. That
But yeah, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I've known Terence quite a long time. Like since he only had one bub. Like it's kind of the concept of time at the moment is completely skewed because realistically
Yeah.
we passed March 2020. I don't think we've ever going to go.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, like the last year has felt like 5 or 10 years.
yeah, definitely. Most definitely. So you've just recently back into full-time employment. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, cool. So I know that that was kind of an interesting move for you because you and we've talked a lot about in our Instagram chats or on video calls about that there's one side of freelance which is like it's great to be your own boss and it's great to have your own thing and do your own thing, but it can sometimes feel a little bit glamorized, and there also should not be shame, which I think a lot of people do, put shame in going back to full-time work. And I really like that it's something that I think you are the perfect person to be proudly marching into that, being like, no, there's nothing wrong with going back to a stable job, especially right now. Um,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
so
I had a really hard time coming to terms with that just because, one, how, like you said, you touched on it, how glamorized, as a designer, how glamorized it is to have your own business, to do your own thing, to be your own boss. I mean, not just in design, but just overall, just to live your own lifestyle, set your own schedule, to determine your own pay, that sort of thing. Like it's
to
just so glamorized to do that.
chase them and to do all of the grit that is behind it.
Yeah, yeah, they don't talk about that stuff. It's like I knew it was going to be hard, but it was way, way, way harder than I expected and entailed so many more things that I just didn't want to do from day to day, or not even day to day, like annually, like once a year. I hated doing like my taxes. I couldn't stand it.
Like my bookkeeper goes, okay, so it's that time again, and I'm like, I don't want to. Like even though I don't have to do any of the reconciling, I've gotten most of the job and outsourced to her, and she handles everything. But even just me going through and making sure that all of the receipts are uploaded to the Dropbox so that she can do her job, it's just
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just, yeah, it's crazy. And it's, everyone has a different recipe of kind of what makes their life work. Everyone, some people have kids, some people don't have kids, some people have, a tolerance for doing certain things or not doing certain things. And it all comes together in a certain way. And, being your own boss and doing your own thing is really not for everyone. As great as it sounds, I'm like you said, I'm certainly a perfect example of someone who kind of learned the hard way that it's not for me.
yeah. And I think that the main thing that I really wanted to get across today is that that's not failure. Like it's really not. It's actually just making sure that you're doing the thing that's right for you at the time that you're able to. Like I believe the line is something along the lines of do the best with what you can when you have it. Um, and I think that that's really, really important to say that the ultimate goal isn't necessarily full-time freelance and being your own boss. It may be building up something and having a core job, or knowing that the pathway is going to be not linear, and that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and I stewed in failure, in the feeling of failure for a long time, for a good 2, 3, 4 years. Like I knew pretty early on that it wasn't working, and I tried for a very long time to correct it in a lot of different ways, and nothing I was doing was really working. And the only thing that is working now is full-time employment. And, like you said, it's to not see it as a failure was for me to look back and go, wow, during that time, I made so many friends. I built this lifestyle brand on the side that I still have and I can play around with now, and it's my passion, and it's not a full-time thing, but I still play around with it and have fun with it, and it resonates with people, and I'm grateful for that. And I picked up all these new skills. I learned how to paint on canvas. I learned how to paint on shoes.
Yep, that was
I learned how to. I'm learning how to teach some of that stuff, and it's given me so many different avenues to explore creatively. And like, after realizing all of that, there's no way that I can call any of that a failure.
yeah, most definitely. As someone who knows what that stewing and failure feels like. Mine wasn't design or going freelance or full time. Mine was actually musical theatre. So, going back about 7, 8 years, I uprooted my partner and myself and moved state, moved everything to pursue a musical theatre career. And I was sure this was where I needed to go. I had been in a design studio where they literally said, "This is where designers go when they're sick of being creative." And that wrecked me. I was like, if that's where I'm heading as a designer, that's not where I want to go. And so uprooted, moved from Adelaide to Melbourne, and kind of restarted again everything, and attempted a musical theatre. Absolutely hated it. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not someone who's going to dance 6 days a week and be really happy about it. Being compared really outwardly to everyone around me who was seen as my competition, as seen as the people who you were pitted against. So after a year, I quit. I ran back into the loving arms of design and went back into kind of part-time, full-time, or contract work for design. And it took a good 3 years at least to no longer feel like I had failed by moving my family, and failed by pursuing something that didn't work out.
Yeah, yeah. Years is definitely a reasonable measurement of how long it takes to even start to get over something like that. I mean, I've been doing therapy now since the quarantine started, and that has been really helpful too. And I mean, it's just it can really wreck you. Like it's tough.
Yeah. And I want to kind of put out there that, yeah, this Instagram live started as talking about money and pricing, and comparing money with other creatives, and try to put it in different contexts. But I think that it's a larger thing of making sure that the situation is right for you, that you're actually happy to charge for it, and happy to not even make a living, but put some of your energy in that bucket. And whatever that ends up working out to be, or translating to, or however much days in the week or time that it puts, for you, it's really important to work out whether that's kind of right for both your situation and your mental health.
Yeah, yeah. It's the worst thing you can do is to take on a project that where the whole time you're doing it, you're like, ugh, I'm not making enough on this. Because that just ruins the whole project. Your creative energy is not there. You're dreading working on it every day. It's just the worst to do that.
Yeah, most definitely. And I can definitely say that there's some days where I go, okay, I've got way too much on my to-do list, so I'm going to go and scroll. And, I avoid it like the plague. Um, when I was cleaning out this cupboard, my partner came out from his meeting, because we're both working from home full time now. He came out from his meeting, saw that I was cleaning out the linen closet, and the first thing he said was, "What job are you avoiding?" And I'm like, I hate that you know me too well. Like, it's a real thing. I think it's the thing that you're doing to avoid the thing you don't want to be doing is probably what you should be doing. And I don't want to be cleaning. So like, let's not have that sentence. Oh gosh, it's terrible how well our partners know us.
Yeah.
So we've gone like really deep really quickly, and I freaking love that. It actually makes
Yeah.
me really happy. So how's mental health? Mine's shit. Um,
Yeah.
but when it comes to having that balance of having a stable, normal job, I feel like that's going to really influence and impact how and if you take other jobs around it. So are you still doing like little freelance jobs around it? And how has the stability of a normal day job changed the way you price your, I guess, free time?
So it's been really nice having kind of the predictability of, the full-time job. So I think for the most part right now, I've just been enjoying having that mental time back to myself. Once the day is over, I can do whatever I want with it. I don't have to continue thinking about this project and that project and that project and that project. I'm just happy to be kind of mentally free for the night. And I'm just like, all right, well, now I can watch Netflix and I'm okay with that. And
Yes. Like that sounds like surgery.
yeah, so I'm being like super selective about what I take right now. And, it's such a luxury to be able to do that. I mean, on one hand, I'm like, yeah, I kind of miss the projects, but then on the other hand, I'm like, you know what? I don't like. I'm enjoying this freedom.
That's great. And I think that that is something that quite often when Rohan finishes at 4 o'clock and walks out of the spare room where we've set up his office and goes, okay, I'm done for the day. Like that I do sit there sometimes and I'm like, oh, I kind of wish I had that. And I guess it's just working out where the trade-off is. Is that something that you would want? Is that something that you need? And it also, like, just because someone else is doing it differently doesn't mean that it's any worse or better for your own
Hmm.
self. I think that's really
Yeah,
important.
yeah, and I totally get the idea that, when you're sitting at your desk at work and you're just like I'd rather be anywhere else. I'd rather be working on my own stuff. Working on my own stuff is what freedom is, you know? Like you have your freedom during the day, right? You have your freedom while you're working, even though you're kind of on 24/7, right? But the thought is that you would have your freedom as the job,
Mm,
but there's so much more going on in the background.
yeah,
And it's
definitely.
it's it's just so different, and you're never really turning off. Even though creating for a living is so much fun, you're never really turning off.
Yep, constant on idle. And even like this morning I took the morning to watch a surface pattern webinar that she was talking about like how she does what she does. No, I'm a serial learner. I will watch or listen to podcasts, watch webinars, constantly doing that because it's sponge of information. But it does end up leading to, okay, so what do you do in your free time? So I got no word for that. I don't know what that is. What's that like?
Yeah,
Uh, Especially with brain space as well.
yeah, yeah. You you end up just combining everything into one thing. Like you're multitasking, listening to this while you're working on this, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And also cooking a roast, like just at the same time. May as well.
yeah, yeah. And with kids, there's no such thing as free time.
Yeah, you went for a really long time of making racing cars.
Yes.
That was like a season I see in the Terence timeline is like a season of car racing and like doing photos of close up cars. And then we go into the sneakerhead phase, which I kind of feel like was really for like you infused it with the freelance side of things and we're creating these like actual tangible sneakers, which was so cool to watch, by the way. Like
Oh, thanks.
I'm not a sneakerhead. I have one brand of shoes that I generally wear, and that's because they're fashionable ones that are made by a podiatrist. Um, 83. I had bunion surgery earlier this year, so I'm like, living my best life. But but seeing like the whole side of the sneakerhead stuff come to life was really cool to watch from the outside. And now you kind of turned it into something else as well.
Have I? I guess yeah. So okay. So that whole thing, I've been a sneakerhead all my life, and my biggest regret has always been that I never spun that into a career somehow. Like I didn't know when I was going to college that I should probably take industrial design, which would then lead me down the road of designing sneakers or designing something that would lead me to designing sneakers, which that's what I kind of wish I had done back then, but I didn't know to do that. We didn't have, Google or whatever to tell you that's what you should do.
Mm.
Now they have programs for high school kids to get a head start in sneaker design. And so that when they come out of high school, they're already going to school for sneaker design, and then they go straight into Nike, Adidas, Puma, the big brands, designing shoes right off the bat. They have that now. So
What?
yeah, so that was always my big regret. So um, when all this Black Lives Matter stuff was kind of hitting its peak, um, and I at the same time I had been kind of doodling on some shoes just because during quarantine I was trying to find a way to make art kind of in a different way. I wasn't working because all the projects got canceled, right? So I'm like, okay, well, like you said, I raced some Lego cars for a little bit, and then I was like, okay, well, let me move on to painting on some shoes a little bit. And so I was like, well, you know what? Why don't I try to combine these two things, painting shoes and and try to kind of scratch that itch of never being able to turn that into anything. And so just on a whim, I just asked a friend, or I put it out on Facebook, if anyone knew anyone that could connect me to basketball players to where I could design shoes for them and kind of have this messaging on the shoe. I said that as long as you want to do the Black Lives Matter messaging, I'll donate the art. You just send me the shoes, I'll donate the art, and I just want to see it on the court. I just want to see it make a difference. And sure enough, someone hit me back and was like, "Hey, I have a connection to a few players. Let me see if they're interested." And I was able to do some for the local Rockets team, and that's kind of where it took off.
Yeah, that's massive. And I think that's really so true with, just ask, the worst thing they can say is no, or crickets.
Yeah,
And
that asking is like it's crazy how little effort that takes, and it you reap rewards from that. Just a
yeah,
simple question.
I feel like that's really interesting, of kind of just going and using your contacts to say, does anyone know anyone? Like, because you never know. You really never know what the opportunity is that you're going to kind of stumble on, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and that opportunity, um, to see my art on a basketball court, and for it to make a big social statement, social justice statement, that was huge. Um, that ended up getting me kind of a look from Jordan Brand. I was interviewing for a job with Jordan Brand, which ultimately didn't work out. But that was kind of, I think that was me successfully, in a way, exploring that avenue that I never got to do when I was in college. Like, okay, like maybe I could, like, instead of wondering whether or not I could do it, now it's like, okay, I think I probably could have done it had I, had the stars aligned and everything, it would have worked out, but just not right for right now. But
And
um,
that part's really important. Like, not right for right now. It's just a no
yeah,
now necessarily mean a no forever.
yeah,
Just imagine you as like an 85-year-old man, just like hand painting all of the different players. It'd be amazing. It'd be so good.
that's probably what I'll do when I retire. Actually, I'll probably just paint sneakers all day long.
No one would be surprised. Not a single person. And
It'd
so,
be so much fun.
yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm going to end up being that one day, just painting furniture yellow, pink, and blue and teal. Just a whole. I think to Rohan the other day, I was like, "Oh, what if we paint the dog teal?" And he's like, "Calm down, Jazz. Calm down. We like the color teal, but just dial it down."
Dog murals.
Mural.
Not murals of dogs, murals on dogs. It's the new thing.
It's the new thing. Or
Yeah.
like grab a dog and like stamp it onto a mural.
Yeah.
But
You should try that.
terrible.
There has to be a washable way to do that. You got to explore that.
Surely. Dogs are washing. Terrible.
Yeah.
So keeping going with the sneakerhead side of things, I know that we're teaching a little bit lately. Talk to us a little bit more about the teaching stuff that you've done, because I'm sitting there going, oh my God, Terence is teaching with like this amazing creative and this amazing creative as part of this retreat and this, like, I wish I was with that. I was very, I don't know if jealous is the right word, but if there's a icky word of jealous, then that's what I was.
Yeah. So I guess I learned a lot about customizing sneakers in a very short amount of time, because when you go from your client being yourself to, so and so player of the NBA, you're just kind of like, oh shit. Like like I have to go from like novice to expert kind of right away, So I consumed so much information in a short amount of time about how to do this stuff. And I, practiced it on the fly. Like doing these jobs was the practice. And I learned, I made mistakes along the way, had to figure out how to fix them along the way. I messed up shoes for some, very important players, and no one will ever know it because I was able to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up learning a lot of stuff, and I guess that caught the eye of some people who thought it would be interesting for me to teach this kind of stuff. I've always been the kind of person that's like, how am I going to teach something? I've only been doing this for like a couple of months. Like, I don't really know. I can't say that I know what I'm doing, but I know more than someone who's never done it. So, and teaching has always been something that's made me nervous, especially the public speaking aspect of it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to figure this thing out. And let me tell you, the teaching bug has kind of bit me pretty hard. Yeah, it's funny how like you get one or two out of the way and you're like, holy crap, like this is so rewarding. Like now I know why my wife is a teacher, even though like sure it's a bit different. She teaches second graders, so the reward doesn't come back for a very long time.
Like years later, you taught me. Like, yeah.
Yeah, like who are you again?
Oh, you exist. Okay, cool. Saying that though, teachers definitely end up popping up back later in your life. Actually, so slight backstory, but Rohan, my partner, and I, we're getting married here, God willing. It's been long enough. It'll be on our anniversary, but the person that's marrying us is our first primary school teacher together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so she's one that be doing the I do's and stuff, and so you don't realize how impactful a teacher can be in your life. Yes, the kind of work that comes from that teaching kind of flourishes and becomes something. So next we'll just be looking out for someone who took Tin Lun's sneaker and is now like designing their own shoes, then the new shoes by Prey, but actually successful.
Yeah, so that's funny. That's something that I can't. Oh, I think it was Dominique actually, who I first heard this from, where the thing that freaked me out about teaching was that, there's all these people that I'm supposed to impress knowledge upon, right? And like that's a lot of pressure to like I felt like I had to make a difference to all these people. And Dominique was the first one to tell me, if you've made a difference in one person, then that's a success. So think about one person. Don't think about the whole class. Don't think about the whole audience. Just aim for one person and you'll be successful. And I was like, okay, like I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've heard a similar thing from her. And for those who don't know, Dominique is typism queen. She's the creator. We love her. If you're watching on a future Dominique, we love you. Isn't that what Eminem said? Okay, we've got the pun master here. Thank you, Nikita.
Freaking Nikita.
We love you, Nikita. But I think
Do we?
It's really important to recognize that when you're a teacher, you're not necessarily wanting to change every single life within the space. You're wanting to just, and I think it's also recognize that it's a choice for the student to actually apply. It's not on you to make sure that the student does everything and has to succeed exactly the way that you have kind of imagined it, I guess. You're just giving them the opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, it's weird. It's weird, like we all know this as students, right? That you're not going to get everything out of every class, but just for some reason, when you turn around and like, I'm the teacher now, you feel like you just have to change everybody.
Yeah, like I have to do it now. It is my responsibility to make sure that everything is perfect for them, and it's not. It's that you're giving them all of the tools, just like your teachers all through school and anyone who has taught you in any way, shape, or form through your life. They've given you the information. It's up to you to do the action.
Yeah, yeah. And the other part that I was freaking out about was that I kept thinking, why would people want to learn from me when there's this person and this person and this person and this person on YouTube, all who have way better work, all who have been doing sneakers longer than I have, who are doing it full time, who have a huge client list, a very impressive client list. They all have YouTube channels describing every single little part of what I've been asked to teach. So why am I doing it? And I have to keep reminding myself that my voice, my vibe, my tone, my words, everything is unique to me, and it's going to resonate with a certain group of people. And same with that person, that person, that person, that person who's teaching. They reach a different set of people. And like it took a long time for me to convince myself like that I can teach the same thing as a bunch of other people, but a different set of people are going to learn, what you're saying. They're going to resonate with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think it's also like, it's like a chef in a restaurant thinking that every single dish is going to be perfect for every single person. But there might be someone who had like a really bad experience with chili, or they're lactose intolerant, or they have never tried whatever that delicious creation that you had on your Instagram the other week. It was some doughy thing. It looked amazing. I was like, oh, now I need to go to America just to have that. As a chef, you're not expecting to feed every single mouth within that restaurant and have all of them 100% of the time love 100% of the meal. There's always going to be ones that connect perfectly, and there's always going to be ones that just kind of pass through.
Oh, but man, isn't it those people that stand out the most in your memory? The ones who are like, they didn't like what you did or whatever. It's just like, oh, like I didn't reach that person, and now that's sticking in my brain as opposed to the other 10 people that I reached. It's
Yeah,
funny how that works.
Yeah, it is funny how it works. We definitely recognize and remember the negative has more of an imprint than the positive, which sucks really bad. I think that it's really for me personally, when those sort of situations happen, I kind of try to take okay, well, what was the lesson? What was the thing that they didn't like? And sometimes it just reverts back to well, you're not for everyone. You're not a jar of Nutella. You're not a block of chocolate. And there's people who don't like chocolate. Like, they're weird. That's fine. They can still exist. But like, yeah, you're not gonna please every single person.
Yeah, that's the hard life of a creative. Like
Yeah,
you want to please everyone, but you can't.
yeah, very, very rude.
Oftentimes, it's yourself that's not happy with the work.
Yeah, and I think you know how you were saying that like there's mistakes that you've made that you fixed them on sneakers. So in the sign writing and sign painting business, there's a saying that is no one smells a sign, which is like you don't need to be worrying about the little mistakes that you've made because it's realistically the big impact. And I feel like it could be reapplied. Like no one smells a sneaker, and if they do, they're a little bit weird.
Yeah. Well, that is actually funny because a lot of sneakerheads do smell their shoes straight out of the box. You open the box and you take a big whiff. There's nothing better than the smell of fresh sneakers. Nothing better.
Okay, cool. Less a sneaker head and more a sneaker sniff.
Sure.
I love that. I love that this has actually turned into a lot less of a pricing and a lot more about passion. It's actually,
Yeah.
so for the freelance jobs that you are taking around your day job, would you say that you're kind of pricing it in a different way that, that's my free time so I can put a bit of a premium on it, or that I need to make it worth my downtime, I guess?
Yeah. Yeah,
Or
I would say
or
I'm
like
pricing.
that you like, if unless it's really something I'm really, really passionate about, then maybe it's going to be a no all the way until like it has to be 100% right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely so when I was pricing stuff as a full-time freelancer, like I actually like this is probably a big no-no, but I was giving a lot more leeway from time to time because um just the projects weren't coming in, like there wasn't the volume, so I didn't have the ability to,
Be picky.
yeah. So so now that I can be picky, it's it definitely goes back to that phrase, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely more on that train now as a full timer. I mean, it's gotta match up with what I want to do. It's got to match up with, is it worth my while? Is it gonna, get me more work like it
Mm-hmm.
down the road? All those things. So
Yeah,
I'm certainly tons more picky now.
yeah, for sure. And so you would probably be less inclined to price something on the hour because you're not really pricing that. Kind of what I'm trying to work around is that, so when you're pricing that sort of stuff, are you kind of going, well, this is the project rate, or the value of it as a whole number, or are you still looking at hourly pricing where relevant, I guess?
Oh, just in general, I price everything by project and value, but I do use the amount of time it's going to take kind of as a check. You know, I make sure like, okay, I think it's going to take about this long, so if I did hourly, it should cost about this much. Is that how much I'm charging? I'm charging more. Okay, cool. So I'm right around where I need to be. You know,
Cool. So you're using your self-calculated hourly rate as not something that you're publicizing, but using it as a gauge or a guide to make sure that, so say for instance, it's going to take me 10 hours, and as long as I'm charging at least my hourly rate times 10, maybe plus more, that's happy to be put on as a project rate. Would that be right?
exactly. Yep. Yeah, and then because then when you do your project your full project rate, then you can factor in other things like if you need to rent equipment or get other supplies or anything like that. Um, you know that you can add that stuff in, and it's weirder to factor that stuff in hourly.
Yeah, yeah, like this is charged at hourly, but this is charged at the. I feel like if you put too many different flavors together with that sort of thing, people are like, what are you doing? Like, I'm really
Yeah,
confused. If you've confused the client, you've lost them, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah.
Um, the last time we actually chatted like this was on a YouTube episode with Becca.
Hmm.
So we were talking about, I love that it was a pricing debate, but by the end of it, we're like, oh yeah, we're all about the same. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. If anyone wants to check out that's on Becca's YouTube. So Happy Ever Crafter, her YouTube channel, and look for pricing debate. But we were talking a lot about murals, and one of the things that you and I kind of connected on and brought up within that was that when I charge hourly, I feel rushed and I hate it.
Yes, yeah, that's the worst. I feel like I have to complete it in that time, and in the case I didn't factor in some part of the project, then I'm like, crap. I'm going over, and now I'm making less hourly. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like it just gets really messy.
Yeah.
Um,
And frustrating, like disappointing. It goes back to that whole idea of like, if I'm hating the time that I'm in, then what am I wasting the time on?
yeah, yeah.
Cool.
On that, yeah. During that debate, you and I were team project rate, and we
You've turned into
we
a,
were.
so that's fun.
I,
I
I
think it'll come
turned
back.
I turned into a robot. Yeah,
So for those who are on the live at the moment, you can probably see that Terence is a slight robot. I think he's coming back slowly.
everything is full speed on my side, so I'm just making a ass of
Yeah,
myself. Right? Oh, okay. Am I back?
a little blurry.
Oh no, everything looks fine on my side.
Okay, cool. Um, so I think the other thing I wanted to touch on that I'm really happy about is that I feel like other people are actually finally starting to see your magic. Like I've known it for a while, but I'm really excited to see that like you were on a podcast with My DeLeon, and you've connected with Scotty. Like it's really good to see everyone else getting a sample of your magic.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think like what I feel like what's the point of all this crap that I went through if I can't share it and help people learn from my mistakes and even from my successes, so I'm
Yeah,
excited and happy to share anything and everything. Like I'm full transparency, full open book anytime. Like, I'm not trying to hide anything.
yeah, I'm exactly the same because realistically, like to me, to be a teacher in any way, shape, or form or capacity, all you need to do is be a couple of steps ahead to throw the hand back and pull someone forward. And I think that's really, really important. Like share. You and I, we've had many conversations, and you kind of reached out to me before. We've talked about okay, how do I price myself within this? How do I work with that? Um, yeah, it's a really interesting concept to kind of go. Okay, a teacher doesn't have to be this specific, be able to show someone else what they know.
Yeah, and actually,
Mm-hmm. Oh no! I seem to have lost Terence. I'm sorry, everyone. If you're still in the chat, let me know that you are still in the chat, so I know it's not on my end. And we've lost Terence. And Terence is now saying hello. I'm going to invite him back in. Come back to me, Terence. You really do need to be prepared for anything with Instagram Lives. Just letting everyone know there is plenty that needs to be prepared for, I guess. Okay, so see if it lets him back in. It's funny, if you could hear in here, the dog is currently snoring very loudly, just like that way a little bit, so I'm glad that no one else can hear that. Keep trying. Oh, no, you're definitely not banned. For some reason, it's not saying you can come in. That's weird. Okay, let's keep trying just a little longer. Otherwise, I will probably wrap. Oh God, he's back. Wow. So that brief hiatus. This is the thing. Like I remember the first Instagram live that I did with Jimbo, and if anyone wants a real like let's laugh at jazz moment, head back to my first slice of the where I'm like, okay, we're doing the thing, and I'm like, my Bluetooth speaker kicked in halfway through and started like throwing my voice around the side. My ring light died. Like everything that could go wrong in the first one went wrong, and I'm like, okay, I've had it now. I'm good. And now here we are, like 11 episodes in, and kind of going, oh, we've lost contact. We'll get back to there. Hope everyone's enjoying the show. Go get it back.
But in all honesty, for anyone to be your guest when all that went wrong, Jimbo is probably the best person to have on for that. He's awesome.
Oh my goodness, my favorite part. Anyone who's on Instagram Live knows there's like little love hearts that go up from the support. He thought it was behind him. It was really funny. He's like, oh, no, they're love hearts. It's okay, hun. Good.
Aw.
He's so great. Well, actually, I've got a few more questions. So, I actually put up on my Instagram stories a couple of days ago if anyone had any questions. You know, one of them from Josh asking how you're so yoked, which I did actually like look up because I'm like, what does that mean? What are the young kids saying?
Yeah.
But the other one that I really like that I'm kind of springing on you. How do you bounce back from creative burnout or creative slump?
So what I do when I'm slumping is to completely do something different from what I've, if I have like a slump from designing something like a print thing or graphic design, I'll go do something creative, but in a completely different area. Like I'll go cook something, or I'll go out and do some landscape photography, or, I can explore some other new thing. But basically it's the key to busting out of it is to keep making, to keep creating, but, away from the thing that you're stuck on. Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like if you get sick of a certain food, like you then go, okay, I'm still going to be needing to eat, but maybe I'll try something different, or I'll eat something different and see if, it sparks something back up. I definitely have experienced creative slumps and creative burnouts, or like times where like I go to, like you're there and you go, I'm going to sit down and draw a bird. And then like 15 minutes later, you're like, Google how draw bird. And you cannot tell when it hits. When it hits, it sucks. But trying to find something else different is actually a really good one. So when it comes to the pricing side of things, and with your like experience of so many different things, if there was a piece of advice that you could go back to younger Terence and say to him, hey, this is really important, what would you say?
I would probably say to be unapologetic about how much you charge.
Right.
Because it can be, it's very easy to feel kind of guilty about charging a lot for a project. And because, and then there's the factor of, oh, if I lose this project that I can't pay rent this month or whatever, like there's that sort of stuff. And I completely understand that. But I feel like if you can adopt the mindset of, I'm going to charge what I charge and they can take it or leave it. And if they leave it, I'm okay with that.
Hmm.
And you can really be okay with that, then that's the best approach to have. Because, again, it goes back to, not feeling bad about what you're making from a project if it's too little, or if you feel weird about asking too much, and then that vibe is going to come across to your client and they're not going to feel confident in you.
Yeah.
So I think, it's not just about, charging a lot because you're worth it and then that's it. It's like there's a confidence associated with it. So just to be comfortable with what you charge and be okay with it, and they can take it or leave it.
Yeah, I think that's really, really relevant. I actually had a job that not a job, a project that I walked into the meeting about it. And when she first inquired, it was for a website design. When she first inquired, I'm like, I don't have capacity for this month. I can maybe see you next month. Let's tend to meet. And we did. Um, and the whole meeting, we got along really well. The connection was really great, which is really important for me. But I walked into that meeting going, I don't really want this job, and I charged accordingly. And yeah, I didn't get the job, and it was because she had another marketing company that was vying for it as well. But if you price yourself like you're available as available as bread and milk, you're gonna feel taken advantage of. I feel like.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And if you had charged lower and then they said yes and you didn't want the project anyway, then you're stuck. You
Yeah,
have to do
you're like, great,
it.
now I'm doing this for a quarter of my rate, and actually I'm in that situation with some of my clients at the moment. In that, there's one particular client that they are currently getting a massive deal of a rate because it's been so long. Like it's been, I've been working with them for 3-4 years now, and recognizing that something needs to change is really hard,
Hmm.
and you kind of feel stuck. And so I think, recognizing when the things change and what needs to be changed and what you can actually change is really important,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
which I think is what you kind of did as well with going into um, full-time employment. You chose that the thing that you needed was the stability. From what I understand, I don't want to assume what your situation was.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said earlier, it's just, everyone has a recipe, and certain things are going to be, they're going to taste good in the recipe and certain things aren't. And so what was right for my recipe at the moment is, to have the stability of full-time employment, to have the benefits for my family, um, to have the mental freedom. Because like we talked about earlier, when you're self-employed, you're always on, and
Mhm.
I was exhausted. I didn't realize how on I was all the time, even though I wasn't doing as well as I would want, but my brain was still going. It had to be, you know, and so now to have that mental freedom, that's huge, and that in turn is making me a better husband and a better father because I'm not as irritable because I'm not always on, and there's a lot of factors, that go into that. And everyone, you just have to kind of figure out what works for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think the recipe is like, you can tell everyone to bake a cake exactly the same way, but if you're going to take into it your different experiences, you might take out something, put in something, create it so that it fits you is really, really important. Um, I also want to kind of finish off in, I want to actually thank you for something because it's a very weird way to finish off, but I want to
Mm.
thank you for, one, your vulnerability on here, but also, and if you don't follow Terence, I highly, highly recommend you do, at Tinland Studio. Terence, you're always really open and honest and share so willingly and generously when it comes to both what you do and how you've processed it, but also your family. Like, I actually feel like, I've seen Mimu grow up, and I can only imagine how much more hair that child is going to have because it's insane. That child needs to be like sponsored by Pantene, something like that. It's ridiculous. Um, Seeing your son grow up and seeing the beautiful relationship that your family shares around food and how much of a wonderful husband you are. Like, I just want to thank you for sharing that because it means that people can actually really connect with the who behind you. And I feel like you're unapologetically you within that space. So, yeah.
Oh, thanks. That really means a lot because being authentic and being myself is something that's kind of at the core of me as a person. That's something that I aspire to do. I try to always be real. I'm not trying to be on Instagram like a lot of people who only share the successes. I mean, if it were if it weren't gonna make me like a Debbie Downer account, I would share mainly my failures. But I
Mm,
just kind of refrain from doing that because I don't want to seem all depressing all the time. But
yeah.
I struggle like everyone else struggles, and it's you know I'm human.
Yeah. Humankind. Aha! So, thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. What I want to let anyone know who's watching here, I'm going to put Terence's Instagram in the comment when I put the IG live. But I would highly recommend that you sign up to Terence's newsletter. So let them know how they can do that.
So if you go to my website, tinlandstudio.com, you can access the newsletter and sign up. You can visit my online shop, which has some goodies. Yeah, some humankind stuff, stay humble, some other lettering based stuff, and I'm going to be adding a lot more stuff to it in the coming weeks and months as well. And you can also keep track with me on Instagram.
Wicked. And then, guys, if you didn't know already, I have released a new product this week, which is my online pricing calculator, where you can put in your numbers, expenses, hours, and it pops out exactly how much you should be charging per hour. I'm giving free access to anyone who signs up onto my newsletter. So do easiestpiepricing.com/calculate or head to my bio. But thank you so much. Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
I
Thank
feel
you.
like
This was so much fun.
this has been a long time coming. But when I was starting to look at, okay, who's the next round of guests, who's the next people who I want to share their story, there's some people who are like, okay, you are definitely someone I want to talk to because you do X, or you price this way, or you talk about money, or whatever it ends up being. But yours was really specific because I wanted to show that the experience is different for everyone, and I feel like that's really important to share.
Totally. Thanks for letting me do that.
Of course, anytime. Awesome, guys. So have a great Wednesday or rest of Tuesday wherever you are. I'm probably going to go and eat something because I'm starving, but that's no different from normal. So, connect with Terence, keep following me, and hey, gotcha.